Yes mates, I'm Alex and thanks for checking out another video. So today we're going to do a different kind of video. So I actually just released my first ever solo EP under the artist name Circle Shifter. The EP is called O. It's 3 tracks long. So today I thought I'd show you some of the grooves that I added into the EP, talk a little bit about my approach, talk a bit about how I got the sounds that I got. All of the tracks have a mixture of acoustic and electronic drums, whether that means layering my drums with samples, sample replacing altogether, or in some cases just programmed drums. So I thought it could be cool for us to go through each track individually so that we can get a bit of a vibe for it. The first track on the EP is called Phosphine. 6. So Phosphine has easily the most acoustic drums from any song on the EP, and weirdly enough, there's no specific group, so every time I play it slightly differently. The version that's on the EP is completely different from the version that you just heard. That being said, there's some key ideas that are the same every time. So the most important thing is that we've got these hits to base our improvisation around. I wanted the feel here to be super loose and just played in the moment. So sometimes I accent the hits, sometimes I incorporate those hits into my groove, and sometimes I just play straight over the top of them. There's also some little phrases like playing drags into 16th note rhythms that come up time and time again, and I was definitely heavily influenced by drummers like Luke Flowers and Yusuf Days and Richard Spaven for the drumming for this tune. One thing that's worth mentioning is I found it super difficult to get the acoustic drums to sit right with all the electronic synth sounds, particularly as there's so much sub bass in this track. I'm also not a mixer, and these are the first tracks I've ever mixed in my life, so that was part of it. It's definitely like a big learning curve. But the thing that helped me the most actually was to play the drums super quiet, so that I have more headroom when it came to putting effects like saturation on the drums. The acoustic drums in this track are just loose and open for interpretation. So let's go on to the next one, Back from Burnout. So, biggest difference for this one is that I'm sample replacing my bass drum and my snare drum, so it really changed the way that I had to approach creating a groove. The first big difference is that personally I don't think ghost notes work that well when you're sample replacing or triggering your snare drum. So what I did was, instead of playing ghost notes on the snare drum, I played my right hand up on the ride and my ghost notes up on the hi-hat with my left hand. I wanted this percussive and pretty loud bell pattern to cut through at the top of the mix and interact with my hi-hat. So sometimes I'm playing a closed hi-hat, sometimes a little bit open, and then I'm improvising with where to add in accents and where to add in crashes. If it's helpful for anyone who uses Logic, if you want to sample replace something, all you need to do is just highlight the track that you want to sample replace and press Ctrl D, and what it will do is it will double that audio signal with a MIDI track, and then you can put that MIDI track into a sampler and do whatever you want with it. To get a nice consistent sound, I just made all the velocities the same, and then I high passed my overheads pretty high so that I could get a nice balance between the electronic sounds and the top end from the cymbals and just the very top of the snare. So have a listen to how the drums sound here with no sample replacement. then check out the contrast when we add those samples in there. The first half of this track is just purely programmed drums, and then the second half I start to bring in the acoustic kit. So if you like the sound of it, have a little listen and see if you can hear the contrast between the two. Let's go on to our last tune, OTA. So the approach to OTA was slightly different again. So what you just heard was the breakdown leading into the outro. In that breakdown section, again, similar to back from Burnout, I'm using a lot of sample replacement. I actually layered my bass drum with a bass drum sample rather than replacing it all together. And there's a lot of filtering happening on the drums to take out some different frequencies, more for an effect rather than to make it sound cleaner. In the drop down, we got those big accents on the and 2 played on the snare, and a groove mostly based in the 16th note single stroke roll to help to build up to that outro section. When it builds into that outro section, it's now a call and response between the programmed drums and the acoustic drums. So I'm just waiting for these little pockets where I can inject a bit of bebop phrasing in the spaces between that programmed garage beat. One last thing to mention, which are these bad boys, mate. So I use mallets on pretty much every song for cymbal swells. Took me ages to find a pair I like, to be honest, so if it helps you at all, these exact mallets are the Meinl super soft mallet. So a bit of a different video today, so less of a lesson and more just a conversation. If you like the sound of the tracks you heard, I'll put a link in the video description so that you can go and check them out. And the next video, we'll be back to our usual schedule, back in with some drumming lessons. As always, if you're digging the videos, hit the button to join the Wednesday crew, man, and I'll catch you in the next lesson.